So today we're going to be doing service industry. It's so generic. I feel like when I say service industry too, I think people think restaurants, and so I don't really know. Trades, maybe talk about trades industry. The thing about this app that we're going to be talking about today is that it can actually be used in so many different ways. I know that a lot of people see, oh, field service management, or, you know, oh, service management program. That doesn't apply to my manufacturing business, but the truth of the matter is that, as you're going to find today, in some of the things that we talk about, that field service could be in any industry, right? It's if you have people that go in the field. We have some very different clients that have used this program over the years, which we'll be talking about a little bit today. So even if you think that this doesn't apply to me, I always suggest hang out and see if it possibly could, because you never know the direction, right, that businesses are going to be headed in. Okay, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling. As always, if you guys missed any of our webinars here, you can always see them on youtube.com/Fourlane. Go in there and subscribe to our channel so you get notification when we upload new videos. There are a ton of videos in there, a lot of playlists in there as well, so you can check those out. So like all of the videos in this series are on a playlist called the Enterprise Deep Dive playlist. You can go in there and see what we've done over the last year and a little bit for this series. Also, we have a Facebook group, Fourlane QuickBooks Enterprise Facebook group, if you want to join into that. I'm sharing something new this week. We do have the What's New in 2023 webinar coming out. So on September 7th at 11 a.m. Central, and we'll rerun it again on September 14th at 11 a.m. Central. It's going to be hosted by CPA Academy. I don't have the registration link yet, so we will be getting that, and it's an hour-and-a-half class. So it'll replace this course or this meeting on those 2 dates. So mark your calendars, grab that time, stick it on your calendar so you can learn what is new. Enterprise has a lot of stuff this year. It's like Enterprise is winning this year. I'm so excited. So yeah, make sure to definitely grab that time. Okay, so today, this is Marjorie. I'm going to be leading the webinar series today. We also have Lori and Renee joining us. So I am very excited about that. 2 of the specialists here who work with field service management with our clients. And I'm going to be spending as much time as possible in product. So this is not in QuickBooks. This is in an add-on product on top of QuickBooks. So I'm going to be spending as much time as possible in there, but this is just a brief look at what we're going to be talking about. So, here is field service management. I'm logged into mine. I have the crazy color scheme. You can change that color scheme if you want to, so don't just think that it always looks like this, but I like colors. So I'm going to kick things off for us today and just say, Lori, what are the most common industries that you see field service management used for?
Mostly like air conditioning, HVAC, if they have landscaping, those kind of things where they have to actually dispatch people to go to somebody's house, even plumbing. So it's that kind of a service niche where you have to dispatch and get to a client's house and kind of know where it's at because of the, it's got the GPS and stuff in there. So it really makes it easy for them to find it, the house.
So HVAC, electrical, so you mentioned in there because they have the GPS, so they can track people. Is that what do you think makes it a good fit, I guess? That's what I'm really getting at. Why is it that people in those industries tend to use it the most?
Well, one, they have to, so maybe somebody's calling and, like, let's say their power's out and they need somebody now. So we can actually identify when it's an urgent call versus we need to schedule it within this, 2-hour window or whatever. But we can also see where they are. So if the client calls, you can kind of see where they're driving to, if they're en route, or maybe they're really close. That is some of it. And it also allows us to keep up with the jobs that they're working on. So that's why those kind of things help those particular industries, because the people are out in the field and it's hard sometimes to get a hold of them or know where they are.
Okay. Like it. Renee, do you agree? Is that when you've done some implementations of field service management, what are the industries that you see the most commonly?
Yeah, I would say HVAC, plumbing, and also alarm systems. So people who do alarms and fire sprinklers use it quite a bit. And I think the clients I work with like it too, because their techs inside the field, out in the field, can manage those work orders and the parts they're using and those things pretty efficiently, without having to be in constant contact with the people in the office.
Frees up some time from the dispatchers or the office managers, right? Is what we see a lot of times.
Yeah.
So Renee, what's the most unique business that you've seen use field service management?
Probably my favorite one is it's a client that they deliver cooking oil to restaurants. So they install their own machinery that pumps the oil in from a big vat somewhere in the restaurant, pumps the oil in to the fryers, and then when it's dirty and they're cleaning the fryers, it pumps it back out, and these people come retrieve the dirty oil to recycle it. And then they also do the service work and the installation on that unique piece of machinery. So I found that one really interesting.
And do they use the system to track that machinery, that equipment? Is that?
They don't track the equipment with it. They do track, so there's 3 sectors to that business. One is the installers. So those guys have trucks with parts on it and they go install the machinery. And then they have the guys that go deliver and pick up the oil. And then the people who service the machinery, who again have parts on their truck, so they can track those parts being used. And then they also sell chemicals for cleaning all that oily mess up out of the fryers. So that's their sales sector, but they use FSM for all 3 of those sectors, all of those sectors.
So are they there? Is that for they're servicing the restaurant industry?
Correct.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. That was one of the ones I always think back to. Is I learned there was a customer that it's just so specific. It was like eye-opening to me. We talk about, everybody says restaurants are one of the hardest industries. It's one of the ones that fail fastest. But all the things it takes. One of the ones, this was somebody who installed and maintained dishwashers at Chick-fil-A restaurants. Like it was very specific.
Wow.
That was what they did. Just only Chick-fil-A. And I think we had one that did light bulb changing, like they changed light bulbs at Jack in the Box restaurants.
Oh, wow.
It was just very specific. It was so specific to things. They then, this is what sometimes you have a very niche business, I guess. Lori, what about you? What's the most unique business you saw field service management be used for?
Well, mine isn't necessarily unique, but the way they wanted to do this, I thought was unique. So it was an architectural firm, but they would also do, like they had a team that would actually go out and do repairs too. So they needed to be able to track the work orders, but they were using 4 different systems. Like one group would use this, this application over here, and another one would use this, and then they were compiling everything in Excel. So it was really interesting to say, yes, you need to dispatch, you need to keep up with your work orders, but watch what we can do, right, by putting more of this into one system, and then it syncs over to QuickBooks. And watching the wow moments was a big deal for me, because those are always, I love those. But just kind of getting it in there, and their biggest love of this was the fact that they had their work orders in one spot, and they could take pictures and attach those to the work orders that would show, this is what I've done and this is where the project is. And they had all of that in one place instead of trying to manage it in Dropbox and Excel and then all the other systems that they had.
So so being able to utilize, so similar to in QuickBooks, we're used to seeing a class field. So they could take their different divisions and use maybe like this work order type.
Yes.
Separate out, but have it all be in one system. I've seen that quite a bit. So like in construction, where we have some people, so that they do remodeling as an example. And of course, this system is not meant to be, full project management, but it allows us to kind of see where people are located on job. So I've seen them say like the remodelers, they'll be put in here, and their projects will be super long days, which is like over a long length of time. And then they also have like handyman as part of their business, and they have, because especially over the last couple of years, people have been acquiring. There's been a lot of acquisitions, right? So they acquire the handyman business, or they acquire now HVAC on top of it. So I've seen people like just continuously merge in different ways that they're sending people out, or it's not even about sending them out either, and that it's just more about tracking, like what are we doing, what are we working on. So that's very interesting. So Lori, I'll stick with you on this one. So what is the number one reason why people choose, or what for you have you heard, what's the number one reason people choose to say, okay, QuickBooks is not enough, let me go and find an app to help me with this problem that I'm having, or this workflow in my business?
Okay. So when they're trying to rely on contacting via phone, right, to notify that they have a new job for somebody to do, because they don't have a way to actually issue a job notice, right, because they're still trying to do old school way, which is like the phone or maybe a radio. Because we have the dispatch, there's an application that they can actually get work orders sent to either their phone or their tablet, to give them an update on, hey, you've got something, right, that you need to address, so that those work orders can be sent out. That way, I think that's the biggest one, because it gives them, they don't have to, like, there's somebody doing the dispatch that they know where everybody's at, but those in the field don't have to come back to the office to pick up a paper work order. They can get it on their application.
So it saves them time both in transportation, right? So people having to come into the office and check in.
Right.
So it saves their techs a lot of time, which also right now, I guess, gas, like that is a lot of mileage in gas. So being able to save that. So it's a communication thing, whereas inside of QuickBooks, if they were to use like an estimate, or sometimes we set up sales orders, right, as work orders, they set them up in there, then it's either that the technicians have to log into QuickBooks and access that, so we're talking hosting, maybe some like internet in the field, I don't know, that's a possibility, or paper, which is what I think we see the most, is what you're saying, right? Replacing paper. Very cool. Renee, what about you? What is one of the reasons that people, they're in QuickBooks and they say, okay, I need to consider an app?
Well, one of the reasons you just touched on, they don't want everybody touching their QuickBooks file. Even though we can narrow down permissions, they just don't want to risk it being broken. So it's really nice that the tech in the field can go ahead and, put everything onto an invoice inside of the work order, and it'll flow to QuickBooks so that we can do our invoicing, but those techs never have to touch our QuickBooks file.
So kind of keep people in their own lane. So in that sense too, it's nice is, QuickBooks users cost money. And so, splitting those out. So saying like, okay, the field service management people have to have access to field service management, which is a lower price, significantly lower price per user than a QuickBooks user. So that's good. So cost savings as well. What about Renee? Have you ever had some of your customers kind of competing with like another app add-on? So like, I know we have a lot of clients that also use Service Titan, usually because it's so heavy for marketing, or like a Service Master. What are some of the reasons that you've seen people switch, right, convert, right, from other programs into field service management, or choose field service over those other programs?
I see two main reasons for that, primarily price and then the ease of use. So kind of like when we we work with people, do you belong in QuickBooks or do you belong in Acumatica? We need to figure that out. And if we're dealing with a client who's always done things on paper and they've never even used an app, we certainly don't want to throw them straight into a product like ServiceTitan, because that would just be a huge failure. So if we start them in FSM, get them used to the electronic workflow, it'll do pretty much everything they want it to do. And then if we see that it doesn't do everything, of course, we can step them up to something bigger like a ServiceTitan.
So the field service management, the people who make it is not Intuit, right? White labels it, but it's Corrigo, who's actually owned by JLL, who a lot of people might know that company as well. It's a big company. But when they originally started the relationship, so it was back in 2008 or 2009, and they tasked field service with having a look and feel similar to QuickBooks, right? So a lot of times you go into these apps and they're like completely, they've got their own button look, they've got their own design, their own kind of workflows. They don't have drill down or drill around similar to how QuickBooks has. And so because field service management was, built with that in mind, like you have to try to mimic the way that QuickBooks looks and feels. I think that makes it a lot easier. But I like what you said there is, even if they're going to one day, so a lot of sometimes clients will come to us and say, we're a big company now, we're $5 million in revenue, we need a program outside of QuickBooks. And we'll say, well, wait a second. Don't go out there yet. Don't leave us yet, because first, if you don't have your workflows and design and everything done here really well, when you go there, it's not going to go so well. So I like that you bring that up. That's awesome. Lori, so what's one of the features that always wows your customers? Like, what's one of the things that whenever they get in here and they're like, oh, that's like, I didn't even think about that software could do that?
I think it's a toss between the GPS, where they can actually see where everybody is on the map, and be able to, because sometimes, right, then they have the team that they have to be at a job site, and they don't know if somebody's just late or whatever, or maybe they need to know where they need to send somebody, the closest person to whatever the emergency is. It gives them that flexibility to see that and know where everyone is located, so they can make better decisions in that regard. I think the app is a big thing for those in the field, because it gives them that automation, but it's something they have all the time. If they've got it on their phone, they can clock in, assign the work order and do all of that from their phone. And just, they can do it from a computer too, but usually their phone is easier. They already have it on them.
Right, so they could log in here and, pick up the work order, start the work order, do everything in here, but there is also an app base to it. And so for the price, again, pretty low to have both as an option, and it doesn't raise the price to be able to log into the full program. So that's a good point. Renee, what about for you? Anything that wows your clients that use field service?
Yes, I think the one that a lot of my clients are most happy about is its ability to allocate inventory parts used to a particular technician's truck, right? So we can continue to track that in QuickBooks at separate separate inventory sites, and field service works along with that program.
So when we come in, and this is one of the ones that is also kind of cool that we did. We actually had this. So a lot of times we use field service management. We talk about dispatching. We send them out into the field, and then they're doing something. I actually had one of my customers who used this in their warehouse because basically they didn't want to give everybody access to QuickBooks, and they needed people to be putting on a ticket what parts they were using for this job. And so they were building, I actually think it was like custom rugs. I don't know. I can't remember why custom rugs would take so much, or maybe it was rug cleaning. I can't remember. It had something to do with rugs. I don't know. But they used the system so that they could not have to give their people access to QuickBooks. They could log into field service management. They could come in to a work order that was assigned to them, and they could add to the work order charges. So I did this service. I utilized these inventory parts, and that allowed them to do like appropriate job costing. So if you think even in like I know that there's very specific software for automotive industry, but if you think in like a kind of a repair shop, you can do things like that where you're just putting on here, what did I use? And then what Renee was mentioning is that then this syncs back to QuickBooks. Field service doesn't hold your inventory, but it syncs back to QuickBooks and removes inventory from whatever site. So that allows us to track inventory by truck. So another one that we've seen is we saw like paints. I've seen people who sell paints off a truck, or sell even shoes off a truck. They go around to different construction sites. They sell shoes off a truck, and they just they had to have a way to take inventory and put it on a ticket without having to log into QuickBooks. So this is one of the ways that we've done that. And also it added in why they use field service with it is it added in, here's where to go, right? And here's the schedule for when you're supposed to be there. So, so a couple extra components. Right, Renee, what about, what do you see as the biggest time saver? Like what is it that people feel like, what do they get? How do they get some automation out of working with an app like Field Service?
I think the biggest thing is when we do see the people who are still on an old pen and paper system, right? And so it takes a lot of man hours to create all this paperwork and the spreadsheets and all the things. So using something like Field Service Management removes the extra labor and also the expense of just all the work order pads, all of those things you end up having to purchase when you do things in a paper process. And then it also decreases the need for warehousing all that paper. People forget to think about that. I'm creating all this paper. I need a warehouse full of file cabinets to go put it into. So, or
have to take the time to scan it all back in. So it's all just there. Exactly. Data entry one time, right? Data entry one time.
Right. Well, plus it also reduces the loss because, they stick the work order in the truck, wind blows, open the door, whatever.
And then how do you remember?
Right.
So saving customers, right, by making sure that you are organized. Put it in a system. I see a lot of people who come to us too. I guess I could have brought this one up earlier, but I see a lot of people who come to us who use like Google Calendar. Right? And that's probably similar to when we talk about in QuickBooks, when people are using Excel to track their inventory, right? And then we say, okay, well, we're going to use QuickBooks, and say, well, this is so much harder. Like it's more work. And yes, it is. Excel is very easy to use. It's also very easy to mess up. Very easy to. I lost an Excel document yesterday, and I was really upset for a while because I had to recreate work. I was so mad at myself. How is this possible? I haven't done that in a very long time.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's and then also multiple copies.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I've even seen people use Google Sheets for scheduling, and because multiple people can access it. But the minute somebody forgets to update something, their whole system, somebody has to go back and figure it out, right? What did we miss? Where is it? And they just wasted that time when it could have just been logged in.
Yeah, and same with the scheduling. So what's nice is if you put your work orders in, even if they're not assigned yet, as long as you put them in and then go look at the map on the dispatch board, it now becomes quite a bit easier for the service manager to route those.
Right.
Without, using a third-party routing app. So.
What do you think, speaking of third-party routing apps, what do you think, this is kind of a little bit off, but what do you hear that people need where like field service isn't a good fit?
If they have a large crew and they really do need a complex routing app.
Yep. Or if they have specifics that we can't, because sometimes the templates are a little challenging to, grab all the, I mean, you can do some formatting with the templates in here, but if they have specific needs on those templates, sometimes that's because we've actually gone custom for those for a couple of clients.
So routing is one where if they come to us and they say, I want the program to tell me the most efficient way to go about my day. So like in the pool cleaning industry or in pest control where you're going in like at it on a very regular cadence, or lawn services, right? Like you go every 2 weeks to help serve people's lawns. Then, and then we throw in an extra one this week, and an extra person is going to join your weekly schedule or biweekly schedule. What day is the most effective day for them, and it figures out the shortest distance to get there. So that's not something field service management does. There's softwares that do that specific type of things. And then what Lori was saying is the template customizations. I know, so Lori, can you tell me about like a specific customer, like what was the need that they needed a template? They had customizations beyond what field service does.
Yeah, so they needed to, because they were doing projects that were longer, right? More days, like not just a simple 30-minute or hour or 2-hour. They went over days, and they needed to be able to divide it up. This is what I did on Monday versus Tuesday, and just getting the notes and everything in the work order so that then they could email it out or attach it to the invoice. They were having a lot of trouble because we could put the names of who did, what on there. We have the custom fields, but there was more data that they needed. So we were able to do the custom bridge. It took the data from field service and kind of put it the way they needed it so they could print it out or email it out.
And we've had that before too, where I think we've worked with like fillable PDFs. So some data from here goes into a PDF, and then some of it needs to be filled in. And it's because of requirements like you guys were mentioning in the like alarm industry. I know the fire extinguishers, like they have to fill out certain forms to show to the state, like government forms that they have to fill out to show the effectiveness of the locations or the dates, or I don't know what it is, all those different things. Yeah, I definitely know we've done that for customers as well. Renee, what about you? Have you seen anything custom? What's something custom that we've had to do on top of service?
Similar, yeah. So kind of similar to what Lori was talking about. We had a company who installs the signage and the street lights for cities. And so that's government contract work, so very specific on what they needed to report on. So we did a little bit of customization that way, but also that oil, the one that does the oil for the restaurants, we were able to get quite a bit of what they needed just using custom fields and kind of tweaking the way we use some of the resources inside of field service management to make it fit for them. Like scheduling equipment, you brought that up a minute ago. We can put equipment in as a person and show where that's at any given moment.
So it's nice is that, QuickBooks has QuickBooks has app add-ons. Obviously, that's what we're talking about today. QuickBooks also has the ability to build something on top of it. So if the app is too much, we can build it just on top of QuickBooks. But then we go into an apps, and sometimes apps aren't perfect either, right? They cover 90% of what we need. We just need that extra 10%. And because they have an open API, we can go in and make those customizations that are necessary. And when you go into the outside of QuickBooks space, right, like the NetSuites and the SAP and Acumatica, customizations are very normal, right? That's something that you do all the time. So what we're saying here is not abnormal anywhere else. Awesome. Well, thank you guys both for joining me today, talking about field service management. I didn't get to bounce around as much. If you guys are wondering more about the product, definitely we have a video. We have demos on our website or on our website, but also in our YouTube channel, so you can go and see a demo if you want to. Future courses. So we talked about field service today. We're doing landing class next week. Then we have a property management panel, restaurant panel. Again, I recommend if you guys, even if this is not specific to your industry, to come in and see what little tidbits you can learn. If you have anything specific, please reach out to us and let us know. But I think that is all that we have today. No questions. We covered it all. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week. See you all next week. Thank you.